When the Bengals and Cowboys were scheduled for Monday Night Football, I'm sure ESPN wishes they had Dak Prescott in this game, but instead we got Cooper Rush. And I think there's some money to be made on this backup quarterback through the player prop market. In this video, I'm going to give you my two favorite player props for Monday Night Football between the Bengals and the Cowboys with plenty of analysis right now. So I'm recording this video before Sunday Night Football, and we're currently 3-1 on the day with Chiefs minus 3.5 pending, rose all the way up to 5 with Ladd McConkey out. Hopefully it's a good sign for us, but we will see. We hit on Michael Wilson over 27.5 rushing yards on the first drive of the game with a 41-yard pass from Kyler Murray, and he ended with 57 yards. But in that same game, we had the Seahawks +3, so we needed them to battle back. And thankfully, Kyler Murray threw 2 interceptions, and the Seahawks dominated from there on out, covering +3 with ease. I also moved to 3-0, betting on my personal favorite team, the LA Rams. We took them +4, and in one of the best games maybe in the regular season we've ever seen, 44-42. They got the outright win. That was absolutely awesome, but we did lose on the over between the Buccaneers and the Raiders. Buccaneers scored 28. I said they would score between 27 and 30, but the stupid Raiders with interceptions in the red zone, it was just not a good game, and we ended up with a loss. But it's okay. Really do appreciate all the support from our last video. And if you've been enjoying these breakdowns, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all of my NFL picks will be on this channel. And let me know what plays you're on for week 14 Monday Night Football between the Cowboys and the Bengals. And what you think of my picks? Let's hang out in the comment section below. And a reminder that this channel is sponsored by BetMGM. It is the perfect time to use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10, and if you lose your first wager on BetMGM after using code JustGridiron, you'll get it all back, up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Don't just leave this free coin offer on the table here, folks. However, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. We have faded the Bengals multiple times this season and have largely been successful because the market routinely overvalues this Bengals team because they fall in love with the offense, but then they forget that this defense couldn't stop a college offense right now. Through 13 weeks, the Bengals defense ranks 30th in the league by EPA, just above the Panthers and the Jaguars. They rank 29th against the pass by dropback EPA, and they rank 28th against the run by rushing EPA. They just allowed 44 points to the Steelers, and since week 8, they've allowed 33.4 points per game on average. In this time span, they rank 30th against the pass, but good for them. They've been moderately better against the run, ranking 24th by rushing EPA. And I think what's clear both lately and over the full season is that this passing defense is a disaster. They let Russell Wilson throw for over 400 yards last week and 3 touchdowns. The week before that, Justin Herbert had 297. The week before that, Lamar Jackson had 290 yards with 4 touchdowns. And now those are all really great QBs, right? But even a bad quarterback can throw on this team, especially when he'll have to keep up with a guy like Joe Burrow. That's where Cooper Rush comes in, as his lines are just too low for this nice of a matchup. Against the Eagles, he took an absolute beating, and he only threw for 45 yards. How embarrassing, Cooper Rush. But that was against the best defense in the NFL lately, and it was his first start back, so we can kind of give him a break there because the whole Cowboys team in that game just completely folded. But since then, he's thrown for 354 yards and a touchdown against the Texans, and that Cowboys team only scored 10 points that game. He threw for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Commanders a few weeks ago. And then last week, he did come up short, throwing for 195 yards and a touchdown. So he is coming off his least productive game over his last 3 games. Now, that was against the Giants, and the Giants are certainly bad, but by the numbers, they just haven't been as bad as Cincy has at letting quarterbacks have their way. The Bengals ranked 27th in passing yards allowed and 25th in touchdowns thrown by quarterbacks this season. 8 of 13 quarterbacks that the Bengals have faced have thrown at least 2 touchdowns. And the ones that didn't were the Raiders quarterback room, because both Desmond Ridder and Gardner Minshew played in that game. The Browns quarterback room, right? That was when all 3 quarterbacks got in. Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Jameis Winston. Tommy DeVito didn't do it. Jacoby Brissett didn't do it. And Jalen Hurts didn't do it. But that's okay. Maybe that was just an outlier. We'll Well, they did win 37-17, so they were just running the ball out. And the Bengals are also terrible when it comes to making red zone stops. They've allowed opponents to score a touchdown on 68.4% of their red zone possessions. That's 26 of 38. That is the third worst mark in the NFL, ranking 30th, people. And now 7 of 13 quarterbacks have thrown at least 235 passing yards against the Bengals this season. But this time, Jalen Hurts went over this line, but Patrick Mahomes only threw for 158. But that was in week 2. Kind of seems like an outlier to me, but Andy Dalton was the one to go under. He only had 220 in that game. He threw for 2 touchdowns. But again, it was in week 4, a little bit earlier on in the season, as the Bengals' pass defense has gotten progressively worse. So I'm not here to convince you that Cooper Rush is some great quarterback, but in this matchup, most quarterbacks have played above their pay grade. It's also just an excellent spot to back a quarterback going passing through the air, right? The Cowboys are big underdogs, should be throwing from behind, especially trying to keep up with a Burrow offense led by T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, especially when they're both healthy. It's also an indoor game on turf, and Cooper Rush will have all his weapons, his full complement. I think Cooper Rush's passing yards line should be in the 240 range, and his passing touchdowns line should be closer to around plus 120. And my model on Rithmm agrees, making the true line exactly that. So at plus 150, even down to plus 130, I think there's value for him to throw at least 2 touchdown passes on Monday night. Now, you just saw my model, which gives the true line for Cooper Rush at plus 120, giving us a 45% chance of hitting this prop. I highly recommend downloading Rithmm, right? It just gave us Michael Wilson over 27.5 rushing yards, which hit on the first drive. You can find the link in the description of this video to access your 7-day free trial. You can build your own AI-backed model or use their back-tested model with tons of props and game predictions. And they also do other sports, right? I only bet NFL and Major League Baseball, but if you're into college basketball, college football, golf, NBA, they got it all, right? So make sure to go check out the link in the description of this video to access your 7-day free trial to build your own model on Rithmm or just use their AI-backed model. So I'm taking Cooper Rush over 230.5 passing yards at minus 115 to win 1 unit, which is playable up to 237.5. And I'm also taking Cooper Rush over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 150. I'm risking a unit on that. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like the video and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of my picks and what other picks you're on for Monday Night Football between the Bengals and the Cowboys. I can't wait to sweat out some Cooper Rush passing props on Monday night. Let's go 2-0. Why not us?